car is the most honest car you ever see.
It's been a dream ever since I've had it.
The first time I heard that engine screaming, I thought, I gotta have one of those.
For me, the cars have personality.
What's great about a BMW Classic is the community that surrounds it.
When you listen to that, that's why we're here.
Welcome to Classic Heart, the BMW Group Classic Podcast. This is JP, and in this episode, we will dive into an automotive journey of a very special person from Sweden, Emil Andersson. Emil is a true BMW enthusiast with a very, very unique story, and we cannot wait to share all these kind of things he wants to tell us. Emil is 35 years old. He grew up in the Swedish countryside, and in a time of digital devices took over our daily lives. He loves still nature, he loves collecting, and he loves, of course, BMWs. Emil, welcome.
Thank you very much, JP.
We are so happy that you can join us. I said that you're in Sweden. I don't know exactly where you are, but if you tell me, that would be very important for us.
Yeah, well, I'm born outside Gothenburg. It's on the west coast of Sweden. And nowadays I'm living in Halmstad, it's called. It's a little bit more down south in Sweden, but it's still on the west coast. Or as we call it, the best coast here in Sweden.
And I totally agree with the phrase best coaster because I just recently been there. To be precise, I was in Boston. I hope I pronounced it correctly. So I was in Boston for a good reason because there was the first time, and I think it's the only one in the Scandics, a concours of elegance. It's called the Aurora Scandinavian Concours. It was a fantastic event, and also BMW Sweden, with the support of BMW Group Classic, had a fantastic display of BMW history there. So it's worth going, and I hope that all of you, and of course BMW, will return also next year to that concours of elegance. But Emil, how was it like growing up in Sweden, especially in the rural area? How did you get around, and how do you connect to people?
Well, the time when I was growing up, it was outside electrical devices and forums and internet and everything. So we were just relying on a bike. And if I'm going back to when I was like 6, 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years old, we were riding a bicycle everywhere. And that's how we transported ourselves. And you had to use your creativity and your unconsciously just use and train your brain a lot.
You know, Emil, for us, it sounds like one of these fantastic Astrid Lindgren stories you're growing up. But of course, Sweden has one of the most wonderful nature. Also, the West Coast is amazing because you have some hilly areas, very good to drive. So how do you think that this digital world and cars become more and more technical devices on wheels, like an iPhone on wheels in a sense? How do you think this changed or will change also your use of a car?
That's a good question. I mean, my daily driver nowadays is a G20 330i from 21 or something like that. So it has all the gadgets and all the add-ons that you could use or could get actually. So it brakes itself, it parks itself, and it accelerates itself and steers and everything, and keep track on me if I'm getting tired, and then suggest a break or everything like that. But I mean, that's awesome for daily driving, I guess. But it gets more fun somehow when you're sitting in an enthusiastic car, or for example, in my opinion, all the 80s and 90s BMWs, they were the best era, in my opinion. So you're just closer to the engine and you can control it in a different manner and everything. So I think it's two different worlds, actually. And I think I'm getting a bit enthusiastic and just want to get back to the old days with the car.
Yeah.
So...
But I really like that you also not ignore the modernity of cars in a sense, because as you said, they make our life quite comfortable in a way. And that's what I like to see. So it's absolutely, of course, driving a G20 BMW, whatever engine size, is not like driving karts or a Ginetta, I would say. So tell us more about your karting history.
I come from a family where we were 3 brothers, separated from 7 years in between us, all 3 of us. And all 3 of us were playing ice hockey and playing football and indoor bandy and everything. So we were quite active. Probably one day we tried out some of these rental go-karting, and I'm just guessing now, I haven't spoke to my father about it, but I'm guessing that they saw some kind of talent. So he actually tried it out, and we went for the local racetrack with the local go-kart club and everything. And I remember that this was the same time of the year as it is now. It's a beautiful day outside here in Sweden. It's a lot of different colors on the trees. Yeah, it was this kind of weather. It was actually perfect. It was cold in the air and sunny and everything. And I was supposed to try out this Cadette, it's called. It's the smallest class of go-karts. And the go-kart club had a Cadette that you could rent or borrow just to try it out. And I remember that my father was discussing something with the people from the club. And I only had my eyes on the kart and on the track. And I was actually a bit nervous, and there were no other go-karts on the track at the moment. And then suddenly they just put on a helmet and an overall and some protective clothes. So everything I remember from the start, the first introduction to this go-kart was actually that this guy was pulling that string and starting it up, and then said something like, "You have to give it a bit of gas." And then I put my foot on the gas pedal, and then I just went out, and I had no idea which way to go on the track. But actually I managed to get out there on the right way. And I mean, driving a go-kart, comparing it to any other cars, you are really close to the ground. You got a direct steering and the direct power and everything. And even though this is the smallest class and smallest engine that's available, it's still quite fast if you're 11 or 12 years old. Or 10 years
I could imagine,
old,
especially if you put the pedal to the metal for the first time. So did this karting career then, like this karting experience, not a career yet, but was it then your dream to become a racing driver?
It has always been. I mean, I've been dreaming a lot because, as I told you, I've been also playing ice hockey. So it was either a professional ice hockey player or a Formula 1 driver. That were my options back then.
I mean, what a choice. And obviously, you went for enjoying go-karting very much. And this brings me to a point. One of the mini USP is that people say they drive like karts or like go-karts. Would you agree? And did you ever own a mini?
I had one Mini Cooper S. It was a diesel, I remember. It was 2016 or something like that. But one of the new ones. And it also had shift gear and everything, but it had the setting that you could choose sport mode or normal mode or economy mode. And when you put it in sport mode, it said in the display, maximum go-kart feeling.
Yes. And was it like that? Because you can tell, I did go-karts only on birthdays, so I really was not really into go-karting. But for someone who had also dreamed and strived for a career in racing and started with a go-kart, how would you compare that? How would you say? Is that true, or what are the differences?
Yeah, well, of course, the Mini was so much fun. It's super fun. I had the 3-door. The only thing was that it was a front-wheel drive compared to a go-kart then, but it's still the suspension and the throttle and everything was so direct in that car. So it's a super fun car, the Mini Cooper.
I'm very happy that we strived this one. So what is then your earliest car memory? I mean, in a conversation we had before, you mentioned how the Daytona Violet E34 of your parents changed your life. Tell us more about that day that changed your life.
Well, you know, we come from a family. We have had a lot of different cars, old Mercs, Saabs, Volkswagen Golfs, or something like that. So nothing particular fancy cars or anything like that. And at that time, I remember my dad was working in Germany and in France in the forest industry. And one time he just get back with a German registered E34 540i. standing there on the driveway and everything. And we were at that age, we were still in school, and we had like 20 kilometers from our house into the school, where we were going public transportation with a bus every day. But this morning, I guess my father actually wanted to drive us to school. As I told you, we are three brothers. And then, of course, the smallest one are pushed back to the back seat. So the first impression I remember with this car was to put on the seatbelt, and I said, oh, there's no seatbelt. And because in this model, the seatbelt in the back comes from the other side.
Yes.
And that's something that just stuck to my mind. I remember that it was so cool. So unique, actually.
It shows again, safety is a cool feature.
Good Swedish invention, actually.
Yes, absolutely. I think, was it Volvo? I'm not sure. It was Volvo.
Exactly.
Volvo was it?
Exactly.
No, the first 3-point
seatbelt.
Seatbelt, yeah. Thank you, Volvo, in Sweden for this great invention that saves many, many lives. No, seriously. I mean, seriously. So young Emil said, how old were you at that time? What do you think?
Well, it must have been in around that age, the same time as the go-karting era.
Yeah, so 11-ish.
Exactly, something like that.
So, and then besides the excitement, was it a touring or a limousine?
It was a limousine.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, when it started it up and you get that V8 sound from the exhaust, and I want actually to remember that this car was bone stock, but I also remember it sounded quite strong when you started it up.
I mean,
and
it's
anyway,
286 horsepower, don't forget that.
Exactly, yes. And I mean, those 20 kilometers to school that day were filled with showing all the gadgets and all the features of this car with the electrical windows and manual curtains that you can raise up and down in the back seat, and this thing in between you and the other guy in the back seat where you can have built-in cup holders and everything. Yeah. So it was very luxury, and it was something special. And I also remember the gear stick or the gear selector. It was like a big wooden leather T.
Yes.
And when you moved it, it was a distinct sound of like dunk, 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 dunk. Yeah. And then when you put it in drive, the car was like sitting down a little bit before. It's like it just wants to drive. And the best feature were, of course, the S button. Yeah, just gave it a lot of gas. And then, the best impression were actually the acceleration, and that something I remember was quite similar to the go-kart experience back then. It was so quick, in my opinion. This big 540i it felt so quick.
I was spotting cars at the same age as you, checking the details. And if your father's car was one, I forgot the year, was it before 1994 or after 1994?
No, it was a pre-facelift.
Okay, so you had the wide kidney to show you have the V8.
Exactly.
So that's, I mean, all these details, this is what I love so much in cars.
Same
that
here.
The designers and the engineers, they think of, okay, if someone wants to debadge the car, because normally you do it, especially if you have a powerful car. So how can we make it look that people who know understand that this is a V8? Also, that's the big engine car. And I always looked out if there's a touring with the wide kidney, that's the big boy. So very cool.
Exactly. And these small details were very gentle at that time in the 80s and 90s. Nowadays you get, I guess, a bit bigger grille and bigger kidneys and double exhaust and everything. But even the M5 and the 540 and 525i on the E34 had the same. The exhaust system, you couldn't understand that it was an M5 if you didn't know about all the details.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like this devil in disguise, this little little sneaky ones, which are really not telling the story. So how long did the car stay in the family?
Good question, and I guess we had it for 3, 4, 5 years or something like that. So I was growing up with it, and I had plenty of time to show it to all my friends and everything, and be proud of that car on the driveway.
Yes.
You know, where you park your car, or at least my dad parked the car, or my mother parked the car, and when you get out, and then you you face backwards after you have stopped the car and look at it, and then you go for another couple of steps, and then you stop again and look backwards and see, it's still there. It still looks amazing. And that kind of sensation I get with that car.
I got this feeling so much. I had the same with the cars we had in the family, or when you were with friends, even with like if you have sleepovers at a friend's place and the parents had a cool car. This was exactly like, is it still there? Yes, it is. Okay, good. Then all is good if you see that. So this was like kind of a kickoff for you to say, okay, I would like to own a BMW, right?
Yeah, I mean, that must have been that car that just gave me the feeling that BMW is, that's my brand.
And then when was your time? What was the first BMW you could buy yourself?
Yeah, well, the first car I bought was actually an E28, a 535i from 1987.
Wow.
I had a certificate and the receipt from the first owner and everything. You saw them daily sometimes, and a lot of people had them as a daily driver. So I actually got into the 5 Series at that time when they were quite cheap as well. And I've been working a lot during the summers and saving up a lot of money. And I'm not 100% sure of the price, but I remember at least that I didn't have enough for this particular car. Yeah. So let's say it was like 15 or 18,000 Swedish crowns. It translates roughly to 1,500 euros. Yeah. And I had like 1,200 euros on my pocket. And I wanted this car because all my other friends, they were buying the 3 Series, the E30, and I wanted to be a bit different.
Very good.
I was aiming for the E28 with a little bit more horsepower and everything. So I went down there together with a friend, I will remember. And it was a snowy day. It was a winter day and everything. And I mean, the purpose were just to look on the car and see what it was. And when you fell in love with something, there's another result from that event. So I ended up buying this car from a really, really nice guy down in Malmö. And first of all, I had to go through all these arguments for lowering the price. And this was like my first car deal ever. So I was all over the place with the arguments, and I guess this guy felt a bit sorry for me or something. But he decided that I was allowed to buy it for that price that I could afford.
What was the color?
It was a Lux Silber, it's called in German. So it's quite middle grayish color with the black trim called Shadowline. Yeah, and it has anthracite colored fabric inside with the comfort seats, of course, because it was not the sport model. Yeah. So it had these big couches that you were sitting on.
Very jumped around on that. And was it a stick shift or automatic?
It was a stick shift. It was a manual, 5-speed manual. And I mean, this car has a limited slip diff or an LSD and 200 horsepower and worn out summer tires when I got it. And I didn't, of course, bring any winter tires with me for this session. So I drove it back on worn-out summer tires through a 2-hour drive back to where I live. Yeah. And that was a really interesting learning or an experience, I can say.
But luckily, the seller agreed to your price. What did your father say?
Well, I guess he said something that, oh man, now I have to repair this one as well. But I'm not sure. But because this car actually taught me everything from changing tires to changing brakes to generators and everything.
Do you still own the E28?
No, but I have another E28.
Okay, but what happened to the first E28? Do you know it? Do you know where it is now?
Yes, I know it. It's in my hometown, and I had that car for a good 10 or 12 years, and I did a lot to it. I changed, the camshafts and flywheels and exhaust manifold, and I tuned it a bit. And then back then I was thinking that I wanted it a bit lower and some more cooler rims, and put on the M wing and everything, and changed the interior to the to the sport seats and this kind of stuff that attracted me back then.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm more into 100% original. It should be bone stocky to give me some good feelings. But back then, I was doing a lot of exterior and mechanical. And in the same time, I was actually aiming to purchase a house for myself. And then I needed some down payment money. And I was looking in my garage what kind of vehicles I had. So I sold off like 4 motorcycles and 1 car. With a tear in my eye, of course.
Sure. And I mean, the new owner received a very nice car with lots of work, sweat and blood spent into it, with cutting your fingers on things. And I mean, it gives you a home. And that's also something that the car did for you in the end. But you said in the beginning, I find this very interesting, because you say all your friends were like looking more for the cool E30s at that time. What made you then go for the E28? Did you just like the looks, or what was the reason why you choose the BMW 5 Series of that era?
Well, I think it's mainly because I wanted to be different than all the others. And they had the same car, 2 doors or 4 doors, E33, 318 IS or 325. And then, of course, looked for the technical specification and saw that, hey, the 535i has a little bit more horsepower than the 325i.
Yes.
So then I'm a bit quicker, I think, than my friends.
Yes.
Because that was important, to be quicker, not only different.
Yes.
I mean, we were living like a budget, Fast and the Furious kind of lifestyle.
Yes.
Where we met up at parking lots and were going drifting and sideways and attending some illegal street races and everything like that. And we had.
You never did that. I'm sure
no,
you never did that.
Of course not. Of course,
it was all closed roads.
Exactly. But that kind of lifestyle. So how clean the car was and how much you have polished the car was very, very important just to show off. And the bigger and the more nice the rims were on the car, it was also a good thing. And I remember that I was both thrilled to show off this to my friends, but I was a bit... I mean, I couldn't afford some nice rims to start with, so I had some 16-inch rims, and I was a bit, disappointed to show them this car bone stock with the 16-inch rims. I mean, this car went more sideways than straight during this time, and it was on wet roads and everything.
Crazy.
And the sound of it, I mean, in my opinion, the inline 6 or the straight 6 cylinder engines from BMW, the sound of them from the 80s, 90s,
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, they are very cool, I have to say. And I really, really love the 6-cylinder. And I never owned one, but a friend kindly handed over a car when I was without a car back in the days. So he handed me over his fantastic E46 Touring with this 6-cylinder engine. This is so bloody cool. I really think that's one of the best 6-cylinder engines beside the Gullwing engine, I would say. So this one is 100% for the books. A fantastic engine.
Yeah, especially the naturally aspirated engines.
Yes.
I mean, there's something special. And it's the same with the E46 as you had the M54 B30, I think it's called, that engine with the 231 horsepower from the E46. That's an amazing engine, actually.
Yeah. It's very good. So let's close the chapter of that E28 and Lux Silver. What was the next step then? So what came next? After that, you bought the house. Just for the house, is it that house that has a very special outside painting?
Well, that's true, actually. I don't know how I ended up, but it's actually having the exact same color combination as my M5 at the moment.
As the M5, you said?
Yep, as the M5 that I have.
So what is the color?
On the M5, it's a granite silver and with shed line trim. So it's a bit dark grayish color with black trim.
Yes.
And when I was in the store picking up some paint for my house. I was not even thinking of the color of my M5, but once I was done and just parked the M5 outside after a sunny day, and I saw that, man, it has the same color as the car.
I think that's a true dedication, I would say.
Exactly.
Emil, let's take a look into your garage virtually. There is the M5, and is there anything else?
Yep, at the moment I have the M5, some motorcycles of different brands, and one M535i, and Cinnober Red from 1985.
Yeah.
But it's under renovation, restoration. It's
do you do this on your own?
Yep, as much as I can and whenever I have time. And the people who know me know that I don't have any time.
Okay.
So it's kind of a long-term project, but it's still there, and I have it in mind. And at the house that I bought now, it's quite a small garage, and I have the M5 inside there. So I'm guessing I'm trying to park that car somewhere else and bring the E28 to this garage nearby my house so I can go out in the evenings and do something.
So there's these two BMWs in the collection. Then you have some motorcycles. So two wheels is also something you like. What kind of motorcycles do you own?
Actually, a cafe racer is like a type of a style of a motorcycle, or like a hipster style of a motorcycle, where it's a one-seater trying to be a replica of the 70s racing bikes.
Yeah.
And so I have a Honda CB500 from 1976, looking like that, with a single seat and a special steering, a special handle, where you're having like a sit a bit more towards the tank kind of position on the motorcycle. And I also have some Japanese organ donors, I used to call them. It's super bikes from the 80s, from Yamaha at the moment. But I've had some Triumph Rockets and Triumph Bonneville Bobbers and some other kind of custom bikes as well.
Yeah,
which I guess suits my beard quite well. But
that's what I was saying. I don't want to stress it, but I would say like the beard appearance. I will describe this. So first of all, I see Emil sitting in front of me, in front of the camera for more, with a beard that has all the honor to be called a beard, because it is a beard. Like my beard is a joke against it. I think it is at least 11 centimeters, 12 centimeters long, if not even more. And in the background, I see a wonderful collection of butterflies. And we spoke about the collection on 2 and 4 wheels, but that you also collect things with wings I was not aware of.
The butterfly collection is actually my girlfriend's collection.
Okay.
But we share that same idea on just hoarding stuff. And I mean, cars and motorcycles is one way, but I also collect electrical guitars and whiskeys and fly fishing rods and a lot of different stuff. And my girlfriend is actually the same, but she collects butterflies.
It looks wonderful, I have to say. Emil, we have a little element in our podcast which is called the pit stop. That means I will ask you several questions, this or that, and you should answer as quickly as possible without thinking. And then afterwards we will discuss what you chose. Is that something you would like to do?
Yeah, of course.
Very good.
Let's try.
Emil, coupe or limousine?
Coupe.
Limousine or station wagon?
Limousine.
Mint condition or enthusiastically driven?
Enthusiastically driven.
Driving alone or driving with passengers?
Driving alone. Definitely.
Driving or being driven?
Driving.
Car sharing or no car?
Oh, that's a tough one. No car.
Road trip or racetrack?
Racetrack.
Highway or country road?
Country road.
Manual or pedals?
Manual.
Petrol or diesel?
Petrol. I mean, this is easy.
Diesel or electric?
Diesel.
Electric or no car?
Electric.
Engine in the front or in the back?
Front.
Engine in the front or in the middle?
Front.
Left-hand drive or right-hand drive?
Left-hand drive.
Sell or keep?
Keep.
Buy at auction or at a dealer?
Dealer, I would say.
Two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive?
Rear-wheel drive.
Winter tires, summer tires?
Summer tires.
But I need to repeat that one. Me too. Summer tires or all-season tires?
Summer tires.
Radio on or off while driving?
Off, actually.
That's it. Perfect. Thank you very much. Let's jump into some of your answers. So you said road trip or racetrack. So racetrack because of the time of your go-karting?
I would say it's because of the adrenaline that you can get from the racetrack.
Yeah.
But I, of course, enjoy road trips as well.
And then engine in the front. That was your choice. So why is that?
I would say it's your first alternative. I mean, I have never had any car with an engine in the back or engine in the mid. I've been trying out some, both Porsche 911s and some Toyota MR2s, etc. But, I mean, that's just something that I've been raised with, that the engine is in the front and it's supposed to be manual gear or shift gear and rear-wheel drive with a LSD.
And that's, I mean, actually...
That's a concept that, the concept works perfectly, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I think a concept BMW has had a bit of a dominance on, I would say.
I would agree.
Front engine, stick shift / manual, rear wheel, and power from the rear.
Exactly.
That's a good combo.
Exactly.
And it made the car also very controllable and good to drive, very stable. I think that's very interesting.
Exactly. You can control the car with your right foot.
And that's the best way to control a car. I think we can all agree on that one. I have to say, I really enjoyed this deep talk about BMW today. And as a man who is very into BMWs, I would like to understand your personal opinion about BMW. What makes BMW special for you?
Well, I mean, it's a sensation of driving. I mean, it feels like all the engineers and everyone has just tried to figure out how this car will feel the best when you're driving it.
Yeah.
There was an old slogan from BMW, driving pleasure or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but
in German it's die Freude am Fahren.
Exactly.
Sheer driving pleasure.
Exactly. And I mean, probably that slogan stuck in my mind. And then when you think of that kind of information that they're trying to send you with that message, it's something that you look for in the car. And I think BMW has actually managed to do that in all the cars that I've had.
Yeah.
And I've had 1 Series, 3 Series, 5 Series. I've been driving some X Series as well. But it's always, I mean, if you lower the seat maximum and you lower the steering wheel a little bit as well, so you have a good position when you're driving. All the small details are just in front of you. I mean, the multimedia unit and everything is slightly tilted towards you. You have your head-up display and everything. Of course, that's for safety reasons, but it's also give you some information. So if you're driving it daily or in sport mode, you get the... I don't know if I can put some better words into it, but...
no, I think it's very, very nicely phrased. So you mentioned the series you own, 3 Series, 5 Series, X model range, all these kind of things. Are there some dream cars, like some BMWs you would love to own or that you're dreaming of owning?
Yeah, at the moment it's an E31, you know, the old 8 Series from the 90s, but I want the V8 version, the 840, I think it's called, because the 850 had the big, awesome V12. But I mean, the V8, it's the same engine that were in the E34 that my father had. So that would make sense for me. That's one car. And I mean, as a as a daily driver, I would like to have something a bit more powerful than I have now. For example, the new M2 is so good. It's actually, it feels like some kind of heritage model to the old days, the M2. It's a little bit smaller. It's a QP with a 6-cylinder engine, and I mean, it's cool, that car.
Yeah.
But I guess it's above my budget at the moment. But that's a car that I would really enjoy.
In my opinion, a very good choice. But I stick more to the 8 Series. Because I don't know if you know, but if you watch the Prince video, Sexy MF, I can't say it here because otherwise this podcast got on the list for 18 only years. So Sexy MF, the major role in the music video of Prince was an E31.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really cool. It's really something special. So the unfortunate situation is that we closely come to our end of our conversation, Emil, already. I mean, I would love to learn more about the Swedish BMW scene and how you get involved in that. But the last question for me is, if you look forward to what the next year will bring, definitely you will try to work on your M535.
Hopefully, I will have some time to do that.
And do you go to some car events or do you have planned anything already?
Yeah, if you're coming back to Båstad with the Aurora event, I would love to go there and meet you, of course, in real life. Yeah.
Okay, that's a ticket for you and your girlfriend is done. On me.
Thank you. Well, yeah, now it's on the podcast, so now you have to...
if I say something, I stand to it. That's already done.
All right.
Do you have something on social media where people can follow you if they would like to learn more about the things you're doing, or you do this for yourself?
Yeah, it's more for myself. I have nothing, no public page or anything like that.
I love that because that's very rare. And this makes it even more special for us that you joined us and opened up on everything on BMW and the way you started to love BMW. And so for me, it's only one thing to say is like, hej då, Emil.
Thank you. And hej då.
So thank you very much, everyone who joined in today. This podcast needs your support because we need to beat the algorithm. That means whenever you use one of your trusted platforms to listen to this podcast, please make sure that you subscribe to it and also that you like it a lot, because that would help us to be also listened and found by people who might not be looking specifically for the Classic Heart podcast. And also, when you have ideas for a guest that we should invite, please do not hesitate to send out an email to BMW Group -classic@shot-1.de. There, every email will be answered by our team. And mentioning the team, I have to say thank you very much, Scenario Studio in Munich, Alex and Marcus, for making us sound always good. And of course, our editor, Friederike von Königswald, she takes care of the content we are producing here, that everything is also interesting for you who tuned in. And of course, our producer, Robin Zeiser from Shot One, who holds all the ends together. And this, I would say, go out and drive. It's autumn time, drive carefully. There might be some wet leaves on the road, but enjoy the cars before you go to winter hibernation. Emil, thank you very, very, very much for joining us. That means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will keep you posted.
Perfect.